Hello, we welcome you to this Bible study of the Banking Blessings Ministry. My name is Goodluck Ofebu, and here with me is Kosi Obodozie. We welcome you. We are going to look at Christ's teaching through the parable of the talents. What he's really trying to tell us in this parable is that God created each of us with the capabilities to execute our functions as his provider assistant, so that when you encounter a call to compassion, you can proceed to think about what you need to do, knowing that yes, you do have the capability to either do things yourself or to put together resources needed to do things, because God created us with those capabilities. But there is more to it, and we are going to learn more through this parable of the talents. We will learn basically four things: that God grants capabilities to every person for performance of our responsibilities as his provider assistant. He expects us to use these capabilities and expects us to grow them, to expand them, to become more and more capable, essentially in one thing, and to increase the variety of things that we can do. This is what we are supposed to go through as our life develops and grows. Now, he rewards people that do this. That is, people that use their capabilities in their daily life, use their capabilities to respond to his call for compassion, and expand their capabilities in the process of using the capabilities. He rewards these people, and we'll see what. He punishes people that choose stagnation, and we see a very good example of somebody that deliberately chose to stagnate. And even if your choice is not deliberate, once you stagnate, then you have in fact refused to use your capabilities that you were born with. And through this parable, we also know, because a lot of it talks about expanding your capabilities, increasing your value, we also know that God actually expects us or allows us to use enterprise in responding to call to compassion. If you encounter a call to compassion, you can respond by providing a free service. You can also respond by providing a for-fee service. But there are rules, there are regulations, and we'll look at some of these. Basically, if you provide for-fee service, it has to obey the principle of fair fee for fair service or fair value for goods, so that you can respond to a call to compassion by engaging in commercial enterprise, engaging in for profit business, for profit activity. But it's limited by the principle of fair fee for fair service and fair value for goods. And we'll look at specific commandments that God handed through Moses, that in fact talked about fair value for different types of, for specific types of transactions. Of course, we'll look at Matthew 25, which is where the parable of the talents is described. And we'll look at two passages in Leviticus about the commandments and about God's commandments for regulation of commercial activity, and then a description of this in Ezekiel also. Well, let us start with the parable of the talents. Basically, each of us is born with the capability to do things, and as we grow, we are expected to use these capabilities each time we encounter something to do. We encounter a call to compassion, a call to provide a service. Each time we encounter a service placed in our path, we are expected to use these capabilities that we are given. And in the process of using them, we're expected to expand them, to grow what we can do with our capabilities, what we are capable of doing, and then to increase the variety of things that we are capable of doing. We also find that the expansion of our capabilities can follow the route of commercial enterprise. That is, we can perform for-profit service in the process of providing a service that is blessed in our path, and in the process of increasing our capabilities as a result of providing that service. Let us read about this in Matthew 25 verses 14 to 30. We're not going to read it all at once. It's going to be we read, we explain, we read, we explain.
Again, it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them.
Before we proceed, the words here are quite important, because it says, again, it will be like a man. What will be like a man? Well, what Christ is talking about here is the kingdom of God, our relationship with God. That our relationship with God can be likened to the interaction between a wealthy man and his servants. The man was going on a journey, and he assigned portions of his wealth to his servants. So Christ was using this to describe a specific aspect of our relationship with God. Let's proceed with the reading.
To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey.
Well, so what did we learn from those 2 verses? One is that every one of us is granted a set of capabilities. As you are born, we are born with capabilities. Because he said that our relationship with God can be likened to this wealthy man going on a travel. So he gave something to this person, something to that person, something to that person. So every person received something, and it was not a loan, it was just, here, take, go and do what you can with it. So it is a grant. Yeah. So every one of us is born with capabilities. Another thing there is that it is each person according to his capacity. In other words, what you are given, how much of it you are given, and it's the things that he can do are determined for each person by God. When the man was giving out, we don't know why he gave one person 5, the other person 2, and another person 1. But the passage made a point of saying each according to his capability. Each according to his capacity. So God gives you capabilities according to your capacity and according to his expectations for you, according to the things, the area in which he expects you to develop your life. So one person may be endowed to be a teacher, another person may be endowed to be whatever. And whatever you're endowed with, it's really a basic capability that you can use in so many different things. You just have to develop it. As you develop it, you deploy it to human activity. So each of us is given capabilities, and our capabilities are determined by God, each person according to his or her capacity. These capabilities are for us to discharge our responsibilities as God's provider assistant. Perform our responsibilities when we are called to compassion, when a service is placed in our path, for us to be able to come up with the right things to do to provide that service. In this parable, the capabilities are described in terms of value. One person got the Bible passage said 5 bags of gold. Another one says 2 bags of gold. Another one bag of gold. I know in the previous version of the Bible, it's called talent. 5 talents, 2 talents, 1 talent. But all it's being conveyed. All that is being conveyed to us is that we are giving capabilities that vary in quantity, in value, and in variety. Let's proceed. Matthew 25 verse 16.
The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work, and gained 5 bags more. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money.
Well, so here God tells us about 2 categories of behavior, or 2 categories of people. These are really people. Behavior doesn't come by itself. Behavior comes through people. So 2 categories of people. One category will be the people that deploy their capabilities, put their capabilities to work, and expand as during the deployment. As they do things, they gain more experience. As they do things, they increase their value. So that is what we are talking about. So there's one category of people, they deploy and expand their capabilities, and the examples are the man that got 5 bags of gold in the parable, and the man that got 2 bags of gold in the parable. The other person chose stagnation. That is the second category of people that essentially refuse to do anything. They refuse to use their capability. They refuse to even attempt simple things they can do. For one reason or the other, they just refuse. And these people are people that chose stagnation, and they are exemplified in this parable by the man that dug a hole and buried a bag of gold that he was given, or 1 talent, or whatever it is, buried his capabilities. Verse 19.
After a long time, the master of those servants returned, and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness.
So we just looked at the first category of people. That is, in giving each of us will give an account of how we use our capabilities. And through these accounts, as described in the parable, we find more about the 2 categories of people. We just looked at the first category. And these are people that deploy their capabilities, that put their capabilities to work. And how do they put their capabilities to work? Is by responding to God's call for compassion, by recognizing needs placed in their path, by recognizing the call to a service, and then by recognizing their neighbor. We're trying to bring together everything we learned in the past several weeks, by recognizing that something is needed and they can do something about it. And they immediately went to do something about it. They immediately go. This is not past tense. They go to do something about it. In the process of doing something about it, they increase their experience. they increase their value, they increase the variety of things they can do. The more things you do, the more you know how to do. And it is simply by doing. It's simply by challenging yourself, by seeing what is needed and thinking of what you can do about it, bringing people together if you need to, and getting to work and doing it. So this is one category of people. And God rewards those people. First, He adds more. The more you develop, the more He adds to you. Tells you, oh, you were entrusted with one thing, you did very well, I'll add more to you. It's just showing that the more you do, the more you are given. The more you do, the more you are given. So more responsibilities and more opportunities were added to them. Responsibilities mean opportunities. Yes, when God gives you more, it's at times in terms of things to do. But those are keys to opportunities. More responsibilities for you mean more opportunities for you. And this category of people are good at seeing these opportunities because they are sensitive to the needs around them. And they are rewarded with eternal happiness. So He said, come and share in my happiness. That was the man telling his servant that did well. And remember, this is using a parable to describe our relationship with God. So that's God telling you, come and share in my happiness. Welcome into my kingdom because you have done what I created you to do. Now let us look at the other category of people, starting on verse 24.
Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, You wicked, lazy servant. You knew that I harvest where I have not sown, and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I have returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold with him.
From him.
Take the bag of gold from him, and give it to the one who has 10 bags. For whoever has
will be given more.
For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. This is the phrasing. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and
gnashing of teeth.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite something said about the second category of people. These are people that refuse to use their capability. They decline to use their capability. They decline every call to compassion. They look at the argument he's making. I know you are a hard man, you reap where you did not sow. So they invent arguments to justify their lack of activity. They try to blame another person for not doing something that they were supposed to do. They are experts in dodging responsibility, finding ways to run away, or finding ways to say something is wrong, they cannot come out, or somebody, the dog ate their homework, so they cannot do anything. Every time there is something to do, they find an excuse why they should not do it. This is the category of people we're talking about. And you could see here, Christ describes them as wicked and lazy. Wicked and lazy. It is wickedness. The wickedness comes from that refusal to do anything that will benefit someone else. If it is sweeping the floor, they think, oh, why doesn't someone else sweep it? Why should I be the person to sweep it? So this type of people, Christ called them wickedness. That wickedness feeds into laziness. And of course, the laziness feeds the wickedness. They feed each other. So Christ doesn't just pick words. These words were chosen carefully. He called these people wicked and lazy because they ignore every responsibility they see. They rather ignore, they rather run away from it. They rather find an excuse not to do it. Not knowing that each time that you encounter a responsibility, what is really happening is that God has given you an assignment. Forget that it's fetching water for somebody or cleaning a room or something like that. This is really a call to service. And by doing this, you learn something. By refusing to do, then you don't learn anything. You remain stagnant. Your capabilities remain buried in the ground, so that on the judgment day you can dig it up and give to God and say, hey, this is yours. I didn't want to touch it because I was afraid. You are a hard man, you are, all that kind of, you start inventing arguments to justify not doing anything, not using opportunities that you have been given. So, what do they get? They get thrown into eternal punishment. Christ said, throw them into darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Well, another aspect of the parable of the talents, the parable we just went through, if you look carefully, you saw that in each case there was an emphasis on increasing the value of what you were given. The person that was given 5 made it 10. The person that was given 2 made it 4. Well, it's not through money doubling, it's through legitimate commercial activity. And what this is telling us is that one of the ways we can respond to a call to compassion is through commercial activity, by providing for fee service. Of course, there are rules, and the limitation, the main limitation is that the service, the fee for the service has to be fair, and the value of any goods exchanged has to be based on fair value. We're going to look at this in a little more detail, but we can provide goods and services for a fee limited by the principle of fair fee for a service or fair value for goods. We will look at declarations by Solomon in the Proverbs, and after that we'll look at a few verses in Leviticus. First of all, the declarations of Solomon.
All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Proverbs 21. The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. Whoever increases wealth by taking interest or profit from the poor amasses it for another. Who will be kind to the poor?
Well, these three proverbs actually, the first 2 talk about the value of hard work. That is, increasing, deploying your capabilities and increasing your value through hard work, through enterprise. Then the third proverb from Proverbs chapter 28 verse 8 is actually hinting at the rule of fairness, that if you increase your wealth by exploiting the poor, essentially that's what he's trying to say here. It's a proverb. He says, if whoever increases wealth by taking interest or profit from the poor amasses it for another, essentially say you are not going to enjoy your profit. But it's not that, it's not taking using the poor here is like an illustration. Essentially, he's saying if you make profit by exploiting people, by charging unfair fee for your service, or by charging unfair fee for your goods, by charging excessive profit, by charging, overcharging people because you have you can, because you are stronger than them, or you have some tools that they don't have, you have access to law that they don't have, so you are able to impose yourself and charge more. If you do that, the profit you are amassing will go to another person eventually. There is more about the fairness of enterprise, but we'll just summarize it here before we go to the Bible verses. The enterprise has to be based on the principle of a fair fee for service, a fair value for goods, and it should be non-exploitative. Now, what is the meaning of fair value or fair fee? Well, the fair value of fair fee could be determined in a number of different ways. One of them is the basic principle of saying, okay, what is really necessary to provide this service or to provide the goods effectively. There are so many things, so essentially you have to go through the cost of the things you need to do and then determine which part of it should be paid for the people that receive the service or goods. And there are commandments, specific commandments that actually talk about the fair value for land, fair value for different things, and we'll look at a little some of these, maybe not in detail. Then there are government regulations that if you are interested in determining the fair value of anything in several societies today, there will be documents you can consult that where the government actually has gone through a study and promulgated regulations to determine the fair value of goods and services. So if you use any of these, then at least you are making an endeavor to charge a fair fee for a fair service, or to charge a fair value for goods that you provide. Now, God defines the conditions for enterprise through commandments that were delivered through Moses, and these are documented in Leviticus. The most important I found here was Leviticus chapter 25 verses 8 to 54. That's a very long section, but all it talks about is land transfers, labor transactions, how to be fair, how to judge the value of land fairly. They had a 50-year cycle, and each time a piece of land is being sold, then the value is determined based on where they are in this 50-year cycle. If you are closer to the end of the 50 years, then the value is small. If you are closer to the beginning, then the value is high. The reason the 50-year cycle was used is that the law was that at the end of each 50-year cycle, the land reverts to the owner, so to the original owner. So what you are selling is not the land, but the use of the land during that 50-year period. And then when the Bible goes into details, this particular passage, about how to calculate the value of the land. We're not going to read it because that's not really the subject of this Bible study, but it is relevant to it, and that's why we are pointing it out, believing that when you have time, you can go back and look at this in details. There is also a section in Leviticus chapter 19 that provides general regulations for enterprise. The type of things to avoid, or the type of things to be used as basis for making law. Let us read some of these. They are very short verses. Leviticus chapter 19 verses 11 to 15 and verse 35.
Do not steal, do not lie, do not deceive one another. Do not defraud or rob your neighbor. Do not hold back the wages of a hired worker overnight.
Do not hold back the wages of a hired worker overnight.
Do not curse the deaf or put a stumbling block in front of the blind, but fear your God. I am the Lord. Do not pervert justice. Do not show partiality to the poor or favoritism to the great, but judge your neighbor fairly. Do not use dishonest standards when measuring length, weight, or quantity. Use honest scales and honest weights, an honest ephah and an honest hin. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt.
Yeah, these 35 and 36 are really informative because they say, look, have an honest standard when you measure length, weight, or any quantity. Have a way to measure it so that each measure is what it is said to be. Then he talks about the honest scale, honest weights, honest ephah. Ephah, I think, is for measuring grains. And honest hin, I think maybe that's for measuring liquids or something. But in all of these, it's really emphasizing the fairness of commercial exchange, the fairness of commercial activity. Do not try to cheat people. Do not try to steal. Do not try to use your influence to exploit people. Then in Prophet Ezekiel, we'll see two verses that describe about fairness in lending practices. Here, God was talking about the righteous and the wicked, and among other criteria, he mentioned their lending practices. Let us read this.
He does not oppress anyone, but returns when he took in pledge for a loan. He does not commit robbery, but gives his food to the hungry and provides clothing for the naked. He does not lend to them at interest or take a profit from them. He withholds his hand from doing wrong and judges fairly between two parties.
Yeah, so this talks about, lending practices. Somebody, the very first one said you return something you took in pledge for a loan. Somebody borrows money from you and gives you a piece of land, and when he pays the money, you give him his land back. That's it, fairness in commercial activity. He talks about different aspects, but really this one is focused on the lending practices of what we have brought out here is the lending practices of the righteous. But the same passage talks about the lending practices of the wicked. In contrast, to show, sort of emphasize the difference between the way to do things and the way not to do things. So, what we have learned in this Bible study is that God grants every person capabilities. Every one of us is born with capabilities. And we are expected to grow. We expect to use our capabilities, and in the process of using them, we will grow and diversify. We will increase their value and increase the variety of things we can do with them. The people that obey are people that deploy and expand their capabilities, and they do this because they are people that recognize needs placed in their path and do what they can to address these needs, to provide for the needs. And such people are rewarded with eternal happiness. Then the other category of people are people that disobey. They choose laziness, wickedness, and stagnation. They bury their capabilities in the ground, so to speak. That's what the third man in the parable of the talents did. He buried what he was given in the ground. And such people incur eternal punishment. Another thing we learned is that we may use our capabilities and expand them through commercial enterprise, through commercial activity, that is by providing goods and services for a fee. God defines the standard for this, being in general terms The fee for service has to be fair, and the value of goods has to be fair. Fair fee for services and fair value for goods. Well, so do you have any question?
Oh, that was a really good summary.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for being with us in this Bible study. We pray that you have learned something that will make a positive impact in your life, improve your interactions with other human beings, improve your sensitivity to needs around you, and most important, bring you closer to God's purpose for your life. Thank you, and God bless you.
God bless you.